Hello guys, welcome to the final section in this topic where we are going to be putting together all these different nodes together to form the final React graph. Alright, so you can see that I've already gone ahead and created a file called React graph and I've already populated the code as well. So let me walk you through it step by step what I've done. So I'm just doing a very standard import of all the nodes that we've written. We have imported the agent state as well, the global state that we have written, right? And then we've also imported the state graph so that we can create the graph. And then just some classes like agent finish and agent action just to, type it basically, okay, force type it basically, right? All right. So let's actually go back to our graph. So the first thing that I'm doing is I'm basically just giving it a constant name for these nodes. So that is exactly what I've done here. So we have the reason node and the act node. Okay, so if I scroll down here, all that I'm doing is I'm creating a graph using state graph and I'm providing the blueprint that we've created as well, right? If you remember, the blueprint is going to be, the input is going to be a string, agent outcome is going to be one of these three things, immediate steps is going to be a list of tuples with each tuple having the agent action as the first part and the string as the output of the agent, the output of the tool execution as the second part, right? So coming back, and that is exactly what we're passing in here, and I'm creating a simple graph. All right. So first thing is I'm adding the React node, the reason node and the act node. So you can see that I'm adding the reason node, I'm adding the act node, and I'm also setting the entry point to be the reason node. Okay. So I'm saying that right after the reason node is done executing, we want to basically check if this particular outcome, let's go back to the state, if this outcome has the agent action or the agent finish. So if agent action is present, then it means that we have to go to the act node. If agent finish is present, we just have to end it. So for that, we need a should continue method, and that is exactly what I've written here. So you can see that. So I'm saying that right after the agent node is done executing, I'm adding a conditional edge, and it is the control flow is going to the should continue method. So the should continue method, again, like every node in the graph, it is going to get the entire state as the input right here. Okay. So for now, I'm just going to look at the agent outcome because that is what is going to contain the agent action or the agent finish. So I am checking in the state, is it an agent action or the agent finish? So I'm checking if the agent outcome is an instance of the agent finish. So if it is an agent finish, then the control flow needs to go to the end. Okay, but if it is not, then we have to go to the act node, which is down here. Okay, so for our prompt, it is going to go to the act node, right? So that is exactly what's happening here. And I'm also adding an edge between the act node and the reason node, right? So right after the act node, it should always come back to the reason node, right? And that is exactly what I've added here. That is it. Okay, so nothing out of the ordinary. All of this is something that we are already familiar with. Okay, and finally, we are going to compile the app and then we are going to invoke the app using the initial state. Okay, so right now going back to the state, we are just providing the input, right? How many days ago was the latest SpaceX launch? So we've provided the input. It is always very good practice to provide the initial state for everything else. So I'm just going to, put the, okay, what's happening? Okay. So I'm just going to put the agent outcome to none, which is going to be the initial state. Initially, the LLM hasn't suggested anything. And then we have the intermediate steps, and that is going to be an empty list. All right. And finally, I'm just going to print out the final state right after the end node is reached. All right. And then I'm also going to print out something inside of the agent outcome. We'll be able to see why we are doing that, once we look at this particular result. So let me actually go ahead and run this file. Let's give it a few seconds. Okay, so perfect. You can actually see that we are getting the entire state right here. So we have the input, and this input is what I provided right here, right? So this is going to be the input, and then we have the agent outcome, which is going to have the agent finish. So if you remember, only because we have the agent finish, did the control flow even come to the end node, right? So that is why it is ending the cycle and then we are getting the result. So in the agent finish, in the return values, you can see that the latest SpaceX launch was 2 days ago. Okay, so this is going to be the final answer. Okay, so how we actually got to this point, we will actually look at the Langsmith logs, right? But for now, you can see that this is going to be, this is going to be the final answer. So you can see that this is how it actually arrived at this answer. So today is March 7th, 2025, which is true. It is March 7th, 2025. It was able to call my, get system time tool that I provided. So the latest SpaceX launch was 2 days ago, right? And then we also have all of the intermediate steps that it went through as well. So we don't really even have to go to Langsmith. So you can see that in the intermediate steps, first thing is there was an agent action. The LLM suggested that we use the Tavili search results tool, and then this was the input, and then this was the reasoning behind using that tool by the LLM. Okay, and then we have basically the same thing happened a couple of different times, and then finally I'm just going inside of the agent outcome, I'm going inside of the return values, and I'm printing the final result. So this is going to be the final output. The latest SpaceX launch was 2 days ago. Okay, so if you have any problems understanding this code, simply just go ahead. I'm pushing all of this code to my GitHub repo. So just go there, pull it, and then, you can test it out right away. So in the next section, let us look at, the Langsmith tracing so that we can better understand it.